Okay, we're still in AD 29 and it's event 53, and we're going through the Matthew additional verses beyond who is great in the kingdom and who's greater than one another in the disciples. We are going to look at Mark and Luke also in just the next couple of nights, but particularly now we want to continue with Matthew 18, verses 21 through 35, and the subject is forgiveness. This certainly came up because Jesus was talking about forgiveness, and here Peter comes to him and he says, how many times do we have to forgive people? 7 times 7? Well, that's 49. And Jesus, who loves to make a point, says 7 times 70, or 490 times. Probably, in reality, Jesus was saying you just got to keep forgiving people. And he had already said 7 times in a day. So you just got to keep forgiving. As long as they're repentant and ask for forgiveness. Remember, that was the criteria when we looked at this yesterday. But also, we got to remember that Jesus likes to drive home points. And for Peter, he gives this illustration. He talks about a kingdom being compared to a king or a lord who has slaves. Now, this particular lord or king goes to one of his slaves who owes him the equivalent of 10,000 talents, or today's money, maybe $10 million, a huge sum. And probably when my Bible was written, that was even a bigger sum than it is today. But nevertheless, it was something that he could not repay. And so the Lord commanded that he be sold along with his family and all of his possessions to repay the debt. But this particular debtor came back to Jesus and fell on his knees and begged him to be patient, that he would be paying back every penny that he owed him, which is probably impossible, but nevertheless, that's what he promised the Lord. And so the Lord had compassion on him, forgave him his entire debt. Imagine being forgiven and $10 million plus, probably in today's currency, completely forgiven and the debt paid off in full. And then this debtor went out and started looking at some of those people that owed debt to him, and he found a man that owed him the equivalent of probably no more than $100 to $150 in today's currency. Now compare that with the 10 million that he's just been forgiven, and this man can't pay it, but he begs the man with the same kind of begging that the man had made to Jesus. He said, be patient with me, I will repay you. Remember, the ask for forgiveness is the same here. And yet this man who had been forgiven 10 million refuses to forgive him and throws him in jail until such time as the debt is paid. Well, if the man's in jail, it's going to be pretty hard to pay off the debt because he doesn't have a way of earning the money. So pretty lack of compassion here on behalf of the one who has just been forgiven $10 million. And it says that some of the fellow slaves then reported this back to the Lord, who had forgiven the $10 million debt that had been owed, and that the very same man that he forgave is now unwilling to forgive a debt of inconsequential amount as comparison to what he was forgiven. And he goes to the man that he forgave and he says, wicked slave, I forgave you all. Should not you have shown the same mercy on the one that owed you? Well, obviously this is not about money. This is about forgiveness. And if God has forgiven us for all of the things that we've done, the millions of things that we've done, then shouldn't we forgive one another for the few things that we've done to one another? Especially if the person says, be patient with me, forgive me, I'm sorry. And so the point here is for Peter is just think of all I've forgiven you, Peter, and have the same kind of mercy and the same kind of forgiveness with others. It's a good lesson for all of us, isn't it? When God's forgiven us so much that we should not forgive others who have done some minor thing in comparison to us. And even if they've done multiples, should our forgiveness run out, or should we consider the magnitude of the forgiveness we've received from the Lord himself? And that's my thought for the day. I hope that you have a great day. God bless you.